Okay, we want to welcome everyone to ANC 34G's regular meeting. This is the second Monday of March. We're meeting the second and fourth Mondays of each month. Unless there's a holiday that falls on that Monday. I'm Randy Speck. I'm the chair of the commission. I represent ANC 34G 03, which is basically the area between Nebraska and Utah and Broad Branch. And we'll have all the other commissioners introduce themselves. Becky, you want to go?
Hello everybody, I'm Rebecca Madak. I'm ANC 34G04. I have basically from Tennyson Street to Nebraska, Morrison, Broad Branch, Utah. I include Lafayette School and Lafayette Park.
Hi everyone, my name is Abraham Clayman. I represent ANC 34G01, which is Hawthorne and part of Carnegie Woods.
Good evening, everyone. Happy spring. I'm Shandon Cutler-Field, and I represent ANC 34G02, and I'm on the eastern part of the district, which is closer to the park. Thank you for coming.
Chris Luty, 3G07, which is the southernmost district of the ANC, and it's on the other side of Terry Road.
Hi everybody, I'm Jerry Mallix. I represent 3G05, that's from Chevy Chase Circle down to Val Military and across to Broad Branch.
Hi everybody, I'm Dan Bradfield. I represent 3G06, which is Chevy Chase Circle to the west, over to 41st Street and Chevy Chase Park.
Okay, we have all the commissioners are here, so we have a quorum and we can conduct business. The first order of business is to adopt our agenda, which was published on our website and on the Chevy Chase listserv, and I believe also on Nextdoor. And are there any modifications anyone wants to make to the agenda? We did make some modifications from the first posting until today. And I think all of those are reflected in the agenda that's at the back of the room. Okay, all those in favor of adopting the agenda? 7-0. All right. As usual, we'll start with commissioner announcements, and I have a few. The first is that there's going to be a couple of candidates forums that you might be interested in. The primary is on June 19th. This is the primary for the Democratic Party and some of the other smaller parties too. But the Chevy Chase Citizens Association will hold a candidates forum on April 17th. Here at the Community Center, and from 7 to 8, the candidates for the at-large council seat will answer questions and make statements. And then from 8 until 9, the candidates for council chair will make their presentations and answer questions. This will be a good opportunity for everyone to hear from the Democrats who are running. That's usually the biggest game in town for Washington. So if you're a registered Democrat, you should definitely come to the forum so that you can learn about the candidates. Now there's another forum as well. The Ward 3 Democrats are holding a more limited forum, and this is for Democratic candidates just for council chair. And it's on April 12th at 7 o'clock at St. Columba's Church. That's 4201 Albemarle Street. And there will be an opportunity for questions and answers there as well. Also, speaking of the election, there is one ballot initiative that anyone who's a registered voter in the district can vote on. It's not limited to Democrats or Republicans or any particular party. Anybody can vote on this. The initiative is on the June 19th ballot, and if passed, it would gradually increase the minimum wage for tipped employees, so that they would receive the same minimum wage directly from their employer as other employees by 2026. This is an issue that has come to the ANC's attention, and we're going to hold a presentation by the opponents and the proponents of that initiative, probably on May 14th, at our May 14th meeting. And I just wanted to give a heads up for that, because this is an initiative that certainly makes a difference to a lot of the restaurant employees in the district. The next announcement is with regard to the historic Chevy Chase DC. They're having a meeting on April 18th at 7:30 here in the community center, and Chris Myers-Ash, the author of Chocolate City, A History of Race and Democracy in the Nation's Capital, is going to be speaking. And the discussion will include his perspective on the city's racial history, and will explore a range of topics from the origins of Chevy Chase to restrictive covenants to form Mayor Marion Barry. And that sounds like an interesting discussion. And finally, the DC Office on Aging will hold a health and wellness fair at the community center on April 19th. It's from 10:30 to 2:30. And the event is aimed at people 55 years old and older, and no registration is required. That's just an informational meeting, I think. Okay, other commissioners' announcements. Dan?
Yeah, two, please. On the 23rd of April, we actually had some really good news. DDOT has approved a repair and replace section on 41st Street from Western all the way up to Military. So it's going to be extremely congested, but at least we're getting a new road and it won't be filled with, I think the last count was 29 potholes, something like that. So that's good news. The second thing is the Chevy Chase Circle Foundation has been very busy. You may notice that the landscaping has been done. The beginning part has been done for the spring. There will be the second phase, which includes on April 28th, a azalea pruning party, which everyone is welcome. I think they had about 50 people last year, from 9 a.m. till 12 noon. There's a lot of young Boy Scout troops that come and help. It's actually a very fun event. And third, on the Chevy Chase Circle is, as many people know, it's split between multi-jurisdictions. Actually, there are 5 jurisdictions that oversee the circle. And the 2, DC, that have to do with safety and road, are DC and Maryland. Maryland has proposed a alteration of the circle into the pattern, traffic pattern, in order to smooth it out, correct some things that they think have been a problem for quite a long time. DDOT has had it for a number of months, and we're trying to get DDOT to take a look at that and actually implement it as quickly as possible. We're waiting for the final engineering center to come back. I believe we're actually probably going to place that on the agenda next time.
Yes. Jerry?
Yes, I have one announcement. There's a new artist group in Chevy Chase called CH/Art, and they're having their inaugural art exhibition here in the community center. The reception is Saturday, April 28th from 3 to 5, and the show is going to be in the lounge from April 28th to May 26th. And this is artists that are both in Chevy Chase, DC, and some in Chevy Chase, Maryland.
Chris?
I just wanted to say there's a gentleman who lives in my ANC by the name of John Burwell. There's a lot to take care of Pinehurst Tributary, which is a nice park and green space, an offshoot of Rockaway Park that many of you are familiar with. And he's organized a number of cleanups, and he's organizing one for this Saturday. There's some details about it on the Chevy Chase listserv, but if you're interested, please see me. I'm happy to connect you with him. It's a worthwhile project.
Okay, as everybody knows, we have the project at Lafayette Park, the Rec Center Modernization Project. I've been getting lots of inquiries when the next meeting will be. I anticipate, I don't know for sure, that'll be before the end of the month. We'll put the notice out when DGS tells us. I'm also getting a lot of inquiries regarding all the stormwater issues in the upper field because that's not included in the project. The ANC, per the ANC's request, DOEE came out to the park, and they evaluated the park for us, and they also took us over to Tacoma Park where they did a series of berms and mulching around the trees because Tacoma Park Rec Center has some of the same issues. They have a rec center lower and then they have an upper field and all the stormwater runs off. Even though it's a smaller park, they made those recommendations and put it in a proposal that we forwarded to Brandon Todd's office because now we need to find funding for it. So we'll see if we can deal with the stormwater that's also running down into the school on the baseball field. I'm getting complaints about the baseball field not draining properly. DOE superficially looked at that also and put that in the report. And the project manager of the school project is going back to the contractor because the field is under warranty to see if they can look at it and see between the two, the report and the contractor, if we can deal with the drainage issues, because I know that's going to be a problem with Cap City League in the summer coming up. So that's where we stand on that. But please, if you're interested in the rec center project, we'll put an announcement out once we get a notice of the next meeting, which will be starting the design. Thank you.
Thanks, Becky. Okay, announcements by the community. First, we'll start with the mayor's office, as we usually do. Ian or Phil? Ian and Phil? We get you both? Wow.
Okay, good evening, everyone. My name is Phil McCauley. I serve as the Ward 4 Liaison in the Mayor's Office.
I'm Ian Maggard. I serve as the Ward 3 Liaison in the Mayor's Office.
Alright, so as always, a couple updates from our office. On the back table, you will find our weekly newsletter that we provide on paper and by email. So if you would like to be subscribed to our listserv for our newsletter, please give me your email address and I'll add you to the list. It's very helpful. It gives you a lot of good information as far as what's going on from, not only within our administration, but the district as a whole. A lot of great information on some of the programs and initiatives that the mayor is launching and just overall key events. One of the biggest events of the year is the Emancipation Day Parade that will be held April 14th from 2 to 5:30, actually 8:30 p.m. So it'll be a parade first, and then followed by that will be the fireworks show with a couple of live bands. So please come on out April 14th, Saturday. It's a great event for family and friends, and just an overall good day to enjoy. But actually, the Emancipation Day will be on April 16th, so just kind of wanted to clear that up. The parade and fireworks show will be on the 14th, but that day will be actually on Monday. So that would be pretty positive.
Yep, so it's, the parade goes from 10th of Pennsylvania to 14th of Pennsylvania, and then the concert and fireworks show is on Freedom Plaza. And I believe the headliner for the concert is Brandy.
Yeah, there's a couple of other key performers. Another big event in regards to Ward 4, April 21st is Earth Day. The mayor will be having her own little spring cleanup in Ward 4, so we're joined by the Department of Energy and Environment, DLCBD, Clean City, KSDC, which is Ward 4 organization, a couple other groups to have a Ward 4 cleanup. That will be April 21st from 12 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. We'll have two main areas. So one will be the Triangle Park on 14th and Kennedy Street Northwest, and the other one will be 14th and Randolph Street. So I have some flyers in the back if you want to participate in that. I know there will be a lot of cleanups that day. I think the mayor got invited to like 50 plus different cleanups, and she has a packed agenda that day, but she will be at this one. So please, if you would like to participate, we'll have a cleanup, and then after that we'll have a family block party. So like I said, it's from 2:30, from 12 to 2:30. So please come on out to partake in that. It is budget season. I left everyone a little brief overview of the budget proposal that the mayor released to council 3 weeks ago. You can pick up another one on the back table. It's on the back table. So please kind of go through it. This is just a little overview. If you want to get more information a little bit more details, you can go to our website, mayor.dc.gov. We have the entire presentation that we presented to council already on the website. I know ANC 340G is excited to hear about the proposed $19 million for the community center, so that's an increase from the $8 million that was allotted before. So again, I urge you to contact your council members to kind of keep that money, or if not, increase it. I know you guys want more, but the $19 million was a step up in the right direction. So please grab a copy on that. And I know Ian wants to talk to you a little bit about some more programs.
Just wanted to let folks know that last week the mayor launched the 10th annual Pothole Palooza. It's where actually decreasing the time for DDOT to fill a pothole from 72 hours to 48 hours. Please, if you see a pothole, report it to the mayor's call center at 311. And then also the same day, the mayor launched the Paved DC plan, which is a comprehensive plan to eliminate all roads that are regularly in poor condition, so to have them all repaved or repaired. So the Paved DC plan has 4 priorities: road rehabilitation, road maintenance, alley repair and reconstruction, and then sidewalk reconstruction. And you can get additional details of that at dot.dc.gov/pavedDC. It also lists all of the roadways that are in the FY18 paving plan. So, check it out.
I mean, we can take questions if anybody has any.
We'll certainly be looking at that paved DC plan to see what's happening in our vicinity.
It's a lot.
Okay, Anthony.
That is actually, there we go. Is that working?
Yes, okay. That's actually a nice segue because the council is in the height of budget season and DDOT's budget oversight hearing was today. I'm Anthony, I'm from Councilmember Che's office. I wanted to give a brief overview of the budget oversight hearings that we have coming up. Department of Transportation's oversight hearing, budget oversight hearing was today, but the hearing record is open for typically 6 weeks after a hearing is over. So feel free to submit written testimony either as an individual or representing an organization. Even if you find that there is a hearing, there's a hearing whose record has closed. I can't speak for other committees, but I've never heard of a committee say, no, you cannot submit your opinion on budget or performance oversight because the hearing is, the record is closed. So feel free to contact our committee or any other committee if you want to submit written testimony after a hearing. Department of Public Works and Department of Motor Vehicles oversight hearing will be held together on April 12th, starting at 11 a.m. On April 20th, Department of Parks and Recreation and Department of Motor Vehicles will be held on April 12th. On April 20th, Department of Public Works will have their oversight hearing. On a lighter note, on April 22nd, there is the Tinley Tiger Run. If anybody is interested, I would encourage you to sign up. I remember being in the council member's office helping the folks set up to get the permits for the Tiger Run the first time they did it. So that was, it's nice to see that they're still doing it after, I think they're on their 3rd year or their 4th year now. Also, I would encourage you to look to see about the road closures for that day. Again, it's April 22nd and it starts at 9 in the morning. Finally, this is far ahead, but May 5th, there is going to be a Chat with Che event. It will be held at a little coffee shop called Coffee Nature at 4224 Fessenden Street Northwest. It's right next to the Pete's Pizza on Wisconsin Avenue between Tenley and Friendship. 4224 Fessenden Street. And that'll be from 11:30 to 1. And that's it.
Chat with Che.
Chapter 2.
Okay. I see you're joined by Jackson Carnes, very last moment. You want to tell us what's going on in Councilmember Todd's office?
Absolutely. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jackson Carnes. I'm here representing Councilmember Brandon Todd, and I'm the Director of Constituent Services. A few updates from our office. One, on Wednesday, we're hosting the Ward 4 Business Summit, Small Business Summit, and that's going to be at 9 a.m. at People's Congregational United Church Christ Church, and that's 4704 13th Street Northwest. And you know, just this past week we had a very good DC Water meeting. We were talking about the water fees at Paul Public Charter School just last Wednesday. And also we have on Sunday, April 22nd at 10:30 a.m. The annual Ward 4 bike ride. So it's our third year running, doing a bike ride, and we hope to have a good turnout. So you know, those are a few updates, and I'll be here through the duration of the meeting.
Where is that?
It's at 9th and Upshur.
9th and Upshur.
Yes.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Jackson. Okay, I know we've got at least one other announcement from the community.
Yeah. My name is Justin McCarthy. I am with the Put a Price on It Coalition. We're a group of over 70 nonprofits, environmental groups, and small businesses here in Washington, D.C. And we are hoping to introduce legislation in City Council no later than June 9th to, as we say, put a price on carbon. So it is essentially a carbon rebate policy. So sort of a 2-minute explanation of how it works is upstream. So you have the entire grid that Washington, D.C. buys energy off of. It goes all the way to Indiana down to South Carolina. And when they purchase energy off that grid, it can either be renewable or it can be non-renewable. And so what we're proposing is, starting in 2019, there would be a $20 tax on non-renewable energy that's purchased off the grid. So say Pepco, Exelon purchases energy from a coal-fired power plant. They would be charged $20 a ton for that energy. We expect, obviously, that there would be a very minimal cost that we pass on to the consumer, but the way the bill is, we're planning to introduce the bill, it would essentially, the money that we recoup to the city would then be rebated back progressively to the community. So 70% would go, 75% would go rebated directly back to the community, 20% would go towards other green initiatives, and 5% would be for small business incentives. And so the carbon fee would go up by $10 each year, all the way up starting to 2032, where it would max out at a price of $150 a ton. A little bit sort of the background of why this is necessary.
We're going to have to keep it short.
Okay, well, that's that, and if anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to take them. The long and short is, I would be very appreciative, or certainly the coalition would be very appreciative, if the council would, if the commission would consider a resolution in support of this.
We'll probably have to take that up at some later point.
Absolutely.
Okay, what was your last name again?
Justin McCarthy.
McCarthy. Okay, thank you, Justin. Okay, any other community announcements anyone has? Yes. Okay.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Ed Lazier, and I'm here because I am running in the June 19th Democratic primary to be the chair of the DC Council. And I just wanted to come and spend a minute to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about why I'm running. I'm supposed to be very brief. So I'm a 30-year resident of the district, and I've been really proud and fortunate to build my life here and establish my roots and create a community. So my wife and I got married here in the district. We've lived in Brookland for about 25 years. We have 2 sons who went all the way through DC public schools and are now adults, and feel just that we've been super well served by the city, and I want to give back. For the past 20 years, I've actually been working to give back to this city that I love as an advocate and director of an organization called the DC Fiscal Policy Institute, which does research on issues like affordable housing and education, and then partners with other organizations to promote progressive change in the city, like raising the minimum wage or investing more in affordable housing and schools. I've also been a member of the Put a Price Audit campaign, so I support a healthy environment by reducing the city's carbon use. I'm running for office. I've left advocacy role to become a candidate because I'm concerned about the pace of development in the city. I feel like our leaders are not rising to the sense of urgency around issues like homelessness and the loss of affordable housing. Anybody who works downtown now sees it a common occurrence of people whose only home is a tent, which is not something that we saw a few years ago. And in a city as prosperous and effective as DC, it shouldn't be something that we tolerate. So I'm running because I want us to do something about homelessness. I want the city to invest more in affordable housing. And I'm also concerned about what's happening in the schools, and I will leave it at that because I can tell that the Shepherd's Crook is about to come. I'm going to leave some literature on the table. I do need to run to another event, and I'm here for a few minutes if anybody wants to talk, but I also will just leave some literature.
And I assume you will be at our candidates forum that's April 17th here?
You having one?
That's the CCCA, the Chevy Chase Community
Yes, Chevy Chase
Association.
Yes, and there's also Ward 3 Democrats debating this Thursday night at St. Columbus, so hopefully I'll see some of you there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, any other announcements? All right, we'll move then to our next substantive issue, which is the discussion of an application for a public space permit to construct a new curb cut driveway at 3012 Military Road. And Sabri Erickson is with us tonight. I'll give just a second. Come on up, Sabri, that's fine. The concern that we have here is one that we've had previously with regard to some curb cuts applications on Military Road. And so I just want to give a little bit of background. There have been 2 applications that have been made for curb cuts since I've been on the commission. One for Ingleside for a loading dock, and the other for a house at the corner of 29th and Military Road. In both instances, the commission opposed those curb cuts, and it was on safety reasons, for safety reasons. And our primary concern is most of the driveways on Military Road there are either a circular drive or they have a turnaround space so that someone does not have to back into Military Road. That's a very dangerous proposition. And so we've been consistent in this position in opposing those curb cuts on Military Road, especially when they don't have a way for a vehicle to turn around or head out into Military Road. So Sabri has submitted some plans to the Public Space Committee. I think it's going to come up on the calendar for the Public Space Committee's meeting in April, which I believe is on the 26th. And so we need to weigh in to decide, to give our views at least to the Public Space Committee. Okay, Sabri, you want to describe what you're doing?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much for your time. We're a new owner with my wife and I at 3012 Military Road. It's a home that was owned by the United Presbyterian Church, who's building the Laura George Senior Living Center behind, right behind this Temple Sinai or whatever, right there at Military between 30th Street and 30th Place. The house is between 30th Street and 30th Place. So as you go eastbound on Military towards Rock Creek, it's on the right. And the house used to have, there used to be a public lane behind the house that you access from 3014, the neighborhood. Immediately when you face south and look at the front of the house, to the right there's a house. They have off-street parking with like several parking spaces, and the public alley used to go behind that house and also 3006, which is the blue house in the pictures that you see there. So that's my immediate neighbor to the east. And about 15 years ago, I think it's 03 or 05, they closed the alley. And because Presbyterian Church owned all 4 houses there, the blue house, the 3006, 3012, 3014, and 2 other homes that they're using right now as a stage, they have their workers working in there while they're building this gigantic senior center. They closed the alley like 15 years ago. I don't know for what reason, but anyway, they closed the alley, and that's taken away all off-street parking for only 3012. Everybody else on that block, there are 5 homes between 30th Street and 30th Place, have off-street parking. They either have just a front little drive, or they have 3006 has actually a circular driveway with a double curb cut. And after discussions with Mr. Speck on Friday, we met at the house. In my initial application, because I didn't think I could, I had been told by DDOT that I'm not allowed they don't approve any double curb cuts anymore. And so we just did a single curb cut, and Mr. Speck said that the big concern was safety when you back. If you pull into your driveway forward, obviously, you have to back out to come out. And so we've made a second option, which I haven't uploaded to my official application with DDOT yet, which is the 100.1, which would be an option to have some sort of little turnaround, so you have like a roundabout. And I've put it partly on our lot and partly on public space. I don't know what DCRA is going to say about that, because I really don't want to cut. There's a big pine tree. You'll see it on the picture. There's a big pine tree just in front of the house. It's about 11 feet from the front of the house. And if DDOT were, let's say, to grant us this turnabout, but they said you have to put it on your lot, we would have to cut that tree, because we would have to. I only have 15 feet in front of the house that's part of the lot. There's this building restriction line, it's called. So from the front of the house, 15 feet out, that's a building restriction line. That's where that pine tree lies. If DC would allow me or allow us to do this little roundabout in the public space, then we wouldn't have to cut the tree down. And I do agree with Mr. Speck that it makes it, my wife totally concurs that it's much safer to be able to have, some place to turn around on your lot so that you're not backing into Military Road. Military Road there, the big problem is it's rush hour between 3:30 and 6:30. You cannot park in front of the house. At all other times, you can park there. The problem is because most of the time it's 2 lanes of traffic. People are used to driving there, and even when you're allowed to park there, I always feel very nervous parking in front of the house. People come screaming up there, and all there is 2 blocks up before you come over the hill. There's a little sign, and there's a P, and then it says, all other times, it's P, and the left lane would be going eastbound, and then it just has a little thing that says 3:30, 6:30, 2 lanes of traffic. But most people there, because you can't park there at 3:30, 6:30, you don't have those little white lines on Military Road like you do west of Nebraska Avenue. So west of Nebraska, it's only 1 lane of traffic in each direction. And so people are used to seeing parked cars on Military Road. On that little stretch from Nebraska all the way to Utah Avenue, there's no parking at rush hour, so people most of the time don't park there. So people are used to kind of just driving. I just know nowadays, somebody rear-end you, you're going to be parked in front of your house even on a weekend or something. Anyway, I don't want to take too much of your time.
The other thing you might want to, I will point out for you, is that the nearest parking space you would have,
yes,
if you can't have a curb cut there, would be on 30th Place or 30th Street.
Yeah, it's really 30th Street, because 30th Place westbound, that's got a big bus stop right there. It's a lot harder to park. 30th Place, there's a lot of parking. There's no doubt about it. Right up against the creek there on the eastbound side of 30th Street, there's always parking there. But we have a teenage daughter. If we were to move there or whatever, eventually, it's just dangerous. Crossing Military there is just. And then you're trying to cross the street with groceries and stuff. It's just not a really safe situation. And it's the only house that doesn't have a curb cut in that little stretch. If we had the Military Road with the all-day parking like it is, west of Nebraska, I probably wouldn't have even asked for a curb cut. It's just right there. It's really kind of, you don't feel safe, right?
Okay. First commissioners, any of you have questions? Becky?
I know you said this, but when did they close the alley?
I think I forgot to bring the paperwork with me. They created these new tax lots in, I want to say January of 05. I think it's 13 or 15. It's either 03 or 05. I'm confusing the 2 years. So they created these new tax lots because when I first bought the property, I thought that the property ended at the lane. And then my real estate agent found an engineering drawing from the United Methodist, the building they're doing, and it showed public alley abandoned. So then I went to the surveyor's office, and just out of luck, the guy kind of had something clicked in his head. He went back, got a little index card, oh yeah, they closed that alley, and he showed me, and he printed up, and I have them, and they're in my application with DCRA. He printed up, they created tax lots for the 15 feet of the alley. The alley was 15 feet deep from the back of our lot to the thing. If you see the deck that's at the edge of the lot there, at the back, the deck looked like it's, you know, quite a distance from the lot line in the backyard. Well, the original property line was right at the deck, because the alley is right there, and there's actually, there used to be a garage under the deck. There was a garage door, and you could, you know, park a car under there. And then in March of, I want to say it's 05 or 03, so those tax lots were then transferred, and that square footage was given to each lot behind the public. So 3006, 3012, and 3014 all got 15 feet for the width of their lot added to their lot. So my lot went from like 5,600 to about 6,500 feet.
Did you check to see if there's any easements? Like, I own a property that my neighbor has to cross it comes from another street, the alley comes in. I go behind my neighbor's property who's not on my street, and my other neighbor on the other side has easement across my property to their garage, and I can't do anything about it. Did you check to see if there's any
They said
easements?
they will not. That alley's closed now, and those are taxes. So that lot now belongs, there's no easement at all. That's just, they've been, the square footage that's behind every property there just extends to the end of where the public alley used to be. There's still the phone poles with the light poles in the back. They just abandoned them. You can see they cut the electricity away.
You know, I understand that, but I was told that the easement is at my place because they have no way to access their property, even though they're on a corner and they could access it from the street, but I'm just wondering.
I would love to be able to reopen, like, there are now like some fairly large trees in the middle of where the lane used to be that would have to be cut down to I would much prefer having had access and had off-street parking in the back of my house than make a curb cut, which is going to be quite a bit more expensive. And I would, you know, we're amenable, my wife and I, you know, we put permeable pavers, whatever DC would like, or would, you know, if that helps them approve, you know, curb cut, we do whatever is required to, you know, make it more environmentally friendly, obviously. And we certainly don't want to cut any trees at all in New York. I mean, we want to keep as many trees.
Any other questions?
I think you want permeable pavement, and there are lots of different options for permeable pavement. You know, the city will probably be consideration.
Okay. Yeah, I've put that in the upload I'm going to make this week with the new notes with this like second option about making it a little safer. Following my discussions in this respect, we're going to put it in. Put permeable pavers.
You can actually make it a little, you know, that turn off doesn't have to have radiuses and stuff. It can look like a patio or something.
Exactly. I agree. Just agree with that.
Okay, I see that former commissioner and former chair of this commission, Ann Renshaw, is here, and I know Ann lives just down the street. Ann, did you have any comments about this application?
Get it down to my size. I welcome a new neighbor on Military Road, but in good conscience, I'm afraid I absolutely cannot support another driveway on Military Road because, as Randy has said and the ANC has voted on previously, it is just too dangerous. And I don't know that the community would support any cutting down of trees because we're adamant about the shade cover on Military Road. That's very good. But while Military Road is a residential gateway to Chevy Chase, it has been allowed to become a speedway. And that's our fault. When I moved in many, many years ago, I predate your coming into the neighborhood. We did not have a light at 30th Street, and I spent my early years as a resident of the district mopping up after accidents on Military Road. And back in the mid-'80s, we were successful in advocating, petitioning getting signatures for that light on 30th Street. We have also asked the city recently for yet another speed camera on the north side, the westbound side of Military Road because of the speed of traffic. We have at your corner a speed camera at last, but that has taken years and years to get the city to install that. Now, let me give you just a little tad of history about Military Road and that
We're going to
block
be short on
face.
time tonight,
All
so
right.
keep it short.
It is an institutional block face, and it has been the three houses, 06, 12, and 14, were rented out previously. 14 was owned, but Ingleside bought them out. The other two houses leading towards Ingleside are within the development envelope of Ingleside. And I would just say that it has that history of being rental properties. It is also so institutional looking that we proposed at the last Ingleside meeting, and Randy, you were away at that time, I don't know whether you heard this on the telephone, that you were tapped into. But Ingleside will not oppose an initiative, which we hope the ANC will support, to return the 3,000 block face to public space between the end of the sidewalk and the curb. Right now, that block face is cement from the property line of the property holder to the curb. And we lost all of that wonderful public space, even though it's up to us to keep it up, to water it, etc. So we're going to be asking you, more formally if you request that, to endorse a resolution to return the 3,000 block of Military Road on the south side to look exactly like the other blocks along Military Road. It's a residential area, not institutional in nature.
I agree.
Good, very good.
I agree in terms of making that. I'm a little confused about what she's talking about, the block or the, I don't know.
What is that you're confused about?
I don't understand what you're saying. No, what the yard is, I mean, my interest is to beautify my yard every day. I mean, that's
Right.
This is a different issue, though, and we'll have to put it off to another time.
That's fine, but I wanted to bring to your attention that there are two issues. One, our new residence issue for your consideration. The other is, and I can draw a diagram and have that presented to you, how we should return that block face to looking just like the rest of the blocks along Military Road, which it does not look like
Let's
now.
deal with that at another meeting, though, because
That's
that's not
fine.
really relevant to this application.
That's fine. But
Okay.
again, I'm not supporting and would so say to the Public Space Committee any kind of curb cut. I'm sorry about that, but
Okay.
I sense it's,
And
I
with
sense
that-
it's buyer's remorse that you
And-
have now.
Thank you.
Actually, like the house one day.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Chris, did you have a comment?
I just have a comment on Ann's comment here. You know, if you live in this house, I mean, how are you supposed to drop off groceries? How's your grandmother supposed to come over? I mean, does that mean you have to stop your car in the middle of Military Road? I think it's unfair to not allow some kind of driveway on this part of Military Road. I know what you're saying about traffic. This has been going on since for 10 years I've been on the commission, and 10 years before that, I'm sure. I just don't think it's fair to deny somebody the use of their property, so I'm not going to support your argument.
Okay, any other comments by commissioners? Okay, I will propose a motion that, I'm going to frame this very carefully, that we object to the application unless there is a provision for a turnaround so that vehicles parked there can head out into Military Road rather than having to back out.
That's definitely our preference.
And the other thing that I would make our non-objection contingent on would be that we don't take down any trees. So I want to make
That's definitely 100%, more than 100% our preference. We do not want to take any trees down.
And had I known from DDOT initially that that might be an option, and until I spoke to you Friday, I hadn't really thought about it, because I just thought, the only thing they're gonna grant me is, the minimal amount of driveway space or whatever. I hadn't even thought about requesting a turnaround. I certainly prefer that, if the district will agree to that. I much prefer that.
I think we want to go on record as saying that we object to any approval by the Public Space Committee that does not include
a turnaround. Right.
Okay, discussion by commissioners?
Do we have to say we object? Why can't we just say we support a resolution that does 1, 2, and 3?
Well, I think if Alan were here, he would tell us that we need to object and then put the conditions in. Because the application, as it sits at this moment, does not include the turnaround.
Okay, because I haven't uploaded it yet.
Oh, yes, okay.
No, I haven't. Right now, this is what it has. Yeah, because I didn't have time, my architect didn't have time to make the changes until this morning, actually, so. Because I spoke to Randy on Friday.
All right, any other questions by commissioners or comments?
No, I would just also comment that I also support the option of having 100.1, the new option that we all just clarified.
That's definitely our preference, by far.
And I do think that Sabria's done everything that we brought up last time, that he's worked very hard to accommodate all the concerns.
Yeah, I do want to thank Sabri for being very flexible.
I appreciate your time.
Responsive.
Everybody's here busy and everybody wants to.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Seconded. All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. Now it's 10 minutes till 8. Let's see if we can at least do one of these proposed resolutions before Congresswoman Norton arrives. She's supposed to be here. Congresswoman Norton. If we could go ahead and see if we can get one of these out of the way anyway. Jerry, why don't we do we'll go out of order, but why don't we go ahead and do the resolution on the Incorporation Entrepreneurship, Incarceration Incorporation Entrepreneurship Program.
At a meeting a little while back, we had a presentation by Kevin Smith in regard to this resolution regarding the incarcerations and the Incorporation Entrepreneurship Program funding. And we agreed, after speaking with him, that we would hold off on discussing further until we heard about what was included in the recent budget that the mayor submitted. And it was not included in there. There was no funding for that. So this is our next time up to discuss this. So the resolution is back in front of us. And the resolution basically is talking about supporting full funding for this program in the current budget. And I'll just read the last piece of this. ANC 34G urges the council to mark budget to include funding for IIEP as authorized by the Act. The entrepreneurship and mentoring elements of IIEP are not covered elsewhere in other returning citizens programs, and the IIEP complements the mayor's programs. The council should provide the $2.3 million needed over 4 years, approximately $760,000 each year to implement IIEP.
Any discussion by commissioners? We did discuss this at length at a previous meeting, so I think this is basically the gist of what we had agreed to then. Any community comments or suggestions? Okay, is there a second to the motion? All those in favor? 7-0. Okay. Well, I see that Congresswoman is still not here, so why don't we go on to the other resolution, see if we can finish that as well. This one also relates to the budget. And as Phil discussed earlier, we're very happy that the mayor has included in her budget for FY 2019 some money, additional money, about $11 million additional money for the modernization of the community center. And just by way of background, this goes back to the report and recommendations that our commission prepared after a very lengthy process of getting input from the community, taking a comprehensive survey of the community, getting a lot of information from experts, both within the DC government and from outside the government, to advise us on what we should do with the community center, how we can make this a real attractive place for people in the community to come and to use. And our report and recommendations were that the budget be about $24 million. Now, that was our estimate. Of course, we don't know exactly what it's going to cost, but we wanted to make sure that there was plenty of money there to address the kinds of issues that the community had identified. That was our big goal. We're happy that we got the $19 million. We don't know whether that's going to be adequate or not. I think at this point we're getting to look at it. Chris Rambaludi, an architect, has been helping on that, and other architects as well have weighed in to try to analyze what that $19 million would get us. And we may not be able to know that very precisely even until we get started into the process of the design. But the one overriding factor, I think, from our commission standpoint is that whatever we do, we want to make sure it's going to be adequate to address the issues that the community identified. That was the most important thing. Now, unfortunately, the budget oversight hearing on this matter was conducted only 5 days after the mayor announced her budget. They held a hearing before the Department of Transportation and Environment on March 26th, after the budget was announced on March 21st. And that didn't really give anyone an opportunity to present testimony about a specific element of the budget. And of course, we didn't have a meeting during that time period. It wasn't possible for us to present any testimony. But I appreciate what Anthony said about being able to submit testimony after the close of the record. I think the close of the record is actually today, is what I was told. But I talked with both Councilmember Che and Councilmember Todd, and both of them encouraged us to submit either a resolution or testimony that would put us on record, essentially, as supporting this increase in funding for the community center. And the work is going to begin in 2019, but it's probably, fiscal year 2019, but it's probably not going to be finished until at least 2021. And so there's time yet for us to work on this, and if there is a need for additional money, I think we certainly would go back to the council and request that additional money. So, in keeping with the recommendations from both council members, I drafted a motion or a resolution that would support the funding that has been provided in the mayor's budget, but also would emphasize that we want to carry out all of the recommendations in our report and the list of recommendations so that we have adequately addressed the concerns of the community and the needs of the community for the community center. So the resolution, the operative paragraph, urges the council to approve the proposed budget and commits the ANC to working with the mayor, the council, the Department of Parks and Recreation, and the Department of General Services to maximize the use of these appropriated funds to ensure that the community center meets the community requirements as set out in our report and recommendations that we adopted on January 22nd, 2018. The resolution also urges the council to continue its oversight to implement all of the ANC's other recommendations for the community center's modernization. And this is basically just to make sure that nobody's going to come in and sweep away this money at the last moment and use it for something else, that this is important for our community, and we want to make sure that the council goes ahead and adopts the budget that includes this additional $11 million. So any discussion by commissioners? I know Jerry's got some thoughts about this.
I'd like to bring up a few things. One, I too am thrilled that we got more money than the $8 million that was initially in there. I was disappointed, though, that we didn't get what we asked for because the survey that we did, that about 1,000 residents completed, and they answered for some of their children as well, so it represented about 1,500 people in the community. We really went and got a lot of good information from that. And we analyzed it. We based the costs that we had on numbers that we were given, official numbers that we were given by people within the DC government. And in the description that was in the budget, says make ADA improvements, new elevators, new multi-purpose rooms, and new and expanded program space. I just want to mention that we were talking about the community center to be a beacon for community activity. It's a lot more than ADA improvements and new elevators, more than just, and then later goes on to say it's community is diverse, there's a need for more expanded programming, especially for seniors. Yes, there is, but there's also a need for the younger families that are moving into the community as well. So I just want to say that those things should not be, well, they should be included in our continuing move to get more money for the community center, and that even though we have something right now, we should continue to fight to fulfill all of the recommendations that we had at the time, and from the large number of people that took the time to complete the survey that we based all our recommendations on.
Thanks, Jerry. I couldn't agree more. I think we still got to fight for all the things that the community identified as being important for the community center. So this is, as I've said many, many times before, this is the beginning of the process. It's not the end. And we've got lots of work left to be done. Any other comments by commissioners? Chris?
Yeah, let me just say that I think this $19 million, even though it's not what we asked for, is a big win for the community. Using the government's square foot cost for a building like the community center, which I thought was pretty high, but that's okay. That $19 million will cover the cost of a brand new community center. Basically, the parameters that we got from the government was that there'd be nothing left with the structure, but it would be, from all intents and purposes, from the outside, it would look like a brand new building, and it would be a brand new building. All new plumbing, all new electrical, all new mechanical, all new finishes, new walls, new furniture, So what it doesn't include was the addition of a half-court gymnasium multi-purpose room, which was something that the community wanted. And I do think that's worth trying to get. But nonetheless, we do have in the budget a brand new community center.
Yes, I would just like to commend the work of all the commissioners and the community for the work that went into the report, and want to put out and reiterate that I hope that although monies have been recommended at $19 million, that our community continue to work together to look at whether that amount is actually good enough, and whether or not we should continue to push for at least $24 million, if not more. We know that it's cost inflation and there are many other issues. And I just think it's great for our community to have these options. It is on the table, and it is more than was originally put out there. But I just hope we continue to work together to push for what's best for our community, whether it's seniors, youth, and all citizens here in the Chevy Chase area.
Thanks, Shannon.
Randy, thank you. I just wanted to say that I see a number of people here who participated in this process, either on the commission or not on the commission. Clearly, someone was listening, and so there's been this recommendation has been put in the proposed budget. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that participated, because it's a great beginning step. So thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the community? Yes.
I'm involved with
You want to come up to the microphone? Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Loretta Kieran. I'm a senior who's been attending a lot of the classes here, and we've worked very hard to get these new activities. I do have a couple of questions, though, but first of all, before I start, I want to thank Commissioner Mallett for his wonderful newsletter that comes out. It was really helpful to me, and I got it here, and I was able to access the information that you were just referring to. Okay, so in that introduction you mentioned, it says the community center was $19,539,000, and the breakout is as follows: $539,000 already spent. That's a lot of money. I really don't see it here. Could you kind of give me an idea about where that $539,000?
I can tell you.
Okay.
That's been in the budget for at least 3 years, 5 years, I think. It's money that was spent apparently a long time ago.
Oh.
And we haven't seen anything recently. I don't know what that money was spent for, but it really is sort of irrelevant at this point. It continues to appear in the budget as already spent, but who knows what it is.
Well, we did get Wi-Fi, so
that's a good work.
Okay, so this is supposed to happen over 3 years, and the 3-year renovation program, according to our Commissioner Speck, is going to close down the building. And there are now a lot of seniors who are attending activities here, and I'm wondering what provisions are going to be made, not only just for the seniors, but for other people.
That's a part of the recommendations that we made in our report. And one of the key recommendations was we set up a process to make sure, I mean, there's not going to be any work that will begin here until probably the beginning of 2020. And so we want to use that time to make sure we have a transition program in place so that all of the activities that are here, seniors programs, the dance program, a lot of the other programs here, that we have a place for them to go. The fencing program. Those are our premier programs in the community center. We want to make sure that they have a place to go and that they will come back here when the community center is finished. That's higher on our priority list.
So have you made any kind of inquiries about that?
Yes, I have talked to DPR about this.
Okay.
One of the things I suggested, for instance, is there are some vacant properties along Connecticut Avenue here. If there is money for renting those spaces in the interim, we're going to look into that. There are a lot of possibilities, and we haven't gotten far enough along. DPR, as you well know, is very slow in addressing some questions, and they don't address them until they absolutely have to. And so I think we're going to have to stay on them constantly.
So has the Walgreens, the vacant Walgreens building been looked at as a possible place?
Excuse me a second. Let me answer your question. I'm an architect, so I'm familiar with the whole process that this will go through.
Okay.
The first year will be the design phase. There won't be any construction. The design phase will consist of determining what's going to go here, working out phasing for what's here and what needs to be located other places. It's a whole process. And there'll be public hearings, and it should be an inclusive process. ANC will make sure it's an inclusive process. So that's where all that's going to be taken care of. So it's kind of, it's good to be aware of that, but it's premature to really to worry too much about it now, because it's going to happen. I mean, when they build a new building, everybody has to move out. But there are ways to temporarily house activities and other existence in the buildings nearby.
So when you say build a new building, does that mean the whole building's going to be torn down, or just the interior? I thought that was what the
We
interior.
don't know yet, it depends. I mean, the idea, one of the options is to leave the structure, but it might be after investigation, it may be determined that it's cheaper and more efficient to totally gut the building and build a new one in the same place. I mean, it's not going to be any bigger than this building, because there's only so much money. Square footage and money are very close.
And what about the ANC? Where are you going to meet? You don't know.
We don't know that yet. That'll be part of the transition as well. We do need to either wrap this up or postpone the discussion, because Congresswoman Norton is here, and we don't want to use any more of her time than we have to.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I tell you what, we'll pick this up after we hear from Congresswoman Norton, and we'll just. Is there any more comment? Maybe we can just deal with this right now. Okay, well, the resolution has been circulated among the commissioners, and I just read the operative portion of it. Is there a second for the resolution? All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, thank you. All right, we are very fortunate tonight to have Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton with us. She last attended our meeting. We have to go to the chair up here. You want to come up here? Well, Congresswoman Norton is getting situated here. Let me just mention, she was last year in September 2016. I was very honored to introduce her then. I'm honored as well again. Congresswoman Norton is an icon in the civil rights movement. She goes back to the days of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, and she was, I first met her in about 1971 in New York, and she was the head of the New York Human Rights Commission. And so she is really an outstanding representative for the district. She's been in Congress now for 14 terms. She's serving her 14th term. So we're very privileged to have Eleanor Holmes Norton with us tonight, and welcome her. Thank you.
I certainly appreciate that warm welcome, and it's an honor and it's a pleasure to have a few words. And let me tell you how I have these few words, because I don't lecture about what I'm doing. And I hear it at ANC 34G. I would like to encourage your feedback. There's a lot happening in Congress that you may not know. I don't know how many of you follow me on my website, or on Twitter, or on Instagram, or on Facebook. But I try to keep in touch with my constituents, both the old-fashioned way and the newfangled ways, because things are changing so quickly. I do have staff here, so if anyone has an issue with a federal agency, I have staff here. Alexander Alex, raise your hand. Cartwright Moore, Trent Holbrook. Is Tristan still here? Yes. So there are 3 staff members here in case there are issues that you have. Because we do a lot of work when people write us about federal agencies, this, that, and the other. This is a very important time for the district. For most of my service in the district, I have been in the minority. So I have had to get things for the district in ways I can never tell you enough about. But according to the polls, we may get back the House. In fact, it looks like we'll get back the House. Dare I hope the Senate. For no other district in the United States does that mean more than it means for the District of Columbia. And here's why. And it has a lot of ramification for national issues. I'll say a word about some of those. But the ramifications for the District of Columbia are very special. I do the same thing everybody else in Congress does. I'll say a word about the Affordable Health Care Act, all of the important bills. But then I have another load that the Republicans put on me, where they try to wipe out your gun laws, wipe out your laws, especially your gun laws, and anything else they can find, which perhaps is not that unusual for a progressive district, but then you're in an ultra right-wing Congress. And some of them seem to have nothing to do except to try to look through DC laws and try to find a way to overturn them. That keeps me very, very busy. We're able to block them most of the time. Now, I'm going to tell you some of the ways we block them that are important for the district. And we not block them for everything. We block them for most of the abortion bills that they try to reduce or press abortion in special ways here. But we don't have the same rights that every other district, or many of them have, to allow the local jurisdiction to fund poor women for abortions. You know, that they've been able to keep from us. We got it back once when the Democrats were in power. There's another one that I tricked them on, but we haven't gotten the whole thing, and that is the district passed a marijuana law. There are about 8 or 9 jurisdictions that pass marijuana laws. So you can have a few ounces. Well, let me tell you, I'm up here with a number of universities. This generation's spokespeople, just like your generation's Frank. And for young people, this is very good, but the district passed a law. It's only a tiny bit you could have. I found a flaw in their bill to overturn the law. So the law is still in existence. But guess what? And this is how harmful and outrageous the Congress is for interfering with our business. Okay, you can have a couple of ounces, but DC can't regulate it. And unlike the 8 states that have marijuana reform, we can't tax it. So that, this is, you know, kind of, those are the 2 laws I haven't been able to get overturned. 15 attempts last Congress to block our laws. Stopped most of those. 3 of those were attempts to block your gun safety laws. I'll say a word about those when I talk about Mario Rubio in a moment. Where I do a lot of my work is making sure that the district gets land that has been federal, unproductive federal land, very valuable federal land, from which we can't tax as long as it is in the hands of the federal government. And I'll say a word about that work. I got an A committee. It's actually called the Surface Transportation Committee, but it has a small subcommittee that I do my work reclaiming land for DC. Have you gone to the Gulf? This is an example of one of my bills. That was just lying there. DC wasn't getting a single bit of tax revenue from it because it was federal land and the federal government was doing nothing with it. That now is just phase 1, and it is already a sight to behold. Then on the southeast, there's the Southeast Federal Center, yards, all kinds of amenities there. Same thing, nothing was happening. Walter Reed Hospital, that is going to be redeveloped entirely with all kinds of amenities for the District of Columbia. NOLA is another word for North of Massachusetts Avenue. That has now become, these are my bills that came out of economic development, that has become a whole new neighborhood for the district. All of these that I've just described are new neighborhoods, and they all come out of my work on one subcommittee, economic development subcommittee. Now, a lot of my work does come on the overall Surface Transportation Committee, which is very important in DC. For example, the Memorial Bridge, that I have worked with the senators. But you could they've closed a couple lanes on the Memorial Bridge. It's a gateway to the mall for many of our tourists. That is going to be finished within 3 or 4 years now. We got all of the money for that. The South Capitol Street Bridge, which we've been trying to get money for a long time, that is in the process of being built now. That binds the District of Columbia. The jurisdictions across the other side of the Anacostia to the rest of the District of Columbia, not to mention that is another gateway entrance. Obamacare. I can't deal with it. Obamacare lives. See what's happening in Virginia? Now that they saw all that tax money they couldn't recoup, and it looks like they're injustice. Republicans are trying to stamp it out. It looks like they're going to get it. Much of this remains intact. 96% of the DC residents now have health insurance. Not all of that is Obamacare, but a lot of that is because a lot of us had health insurance anyway. This adds to it. Very important to us. So virtually nobody in the district is without care now. And what's still in place are provisions to protect from pre-existing conditions, free preventative health services. All of those are still in existence. Can't charge more for women. And I don't, notwithstanding Trump, I don't believe at all that we will ever be without Obamacare. And if we get back the House and the Senate, I just can't wait. Look, I am really struggling because I will be committee chair. Imagine what that means for the District of Columbia, my seniority. Just let me go over just a few of the bills. I should have looked to see when I started.
5 minutes after.
I started 5 minutes
10 minutes after.
Yeah.
10 minutes after.
Yeah, no, 5 minutes. Because I don't want to stay long, overstay my time. Important bills for the district that I've passed. I hope DC Tag. These are the kinds of bills I have to get through a Republican Congress. I had this bill, and there have been Republican presidents doing it. Republican Congress is doing it. Very important bills. District is a knowledge economy. By the way, the only thing I should have said this in the beginning, please stop me. The good thing about ANC meetings are people sitting down and I don't have to stand there for 10 days to wait until I'm through in order to say something. So would you please, people really do at these meetings hype up and don't let me just go on. See, if you do that, then by the time you were going to say something or ask me something, you forgot what it was because I kept going. So please interrupt me. I did have to say something about DC Tag, tuition access. Oh, thank you. DC access grants, really important. I was saying DC is a knowledge economy. So if you want a job in DC, there are two big industries. The federal government, we feed off of the federal government. The other is hospitality. There's no gap in between. So our youngsters do need a college education. We have only one state university, UDC. When we were losing residents, one of the ways I was able to staunch that was DC Tag. DC Tag says that if you live in the district, you can go to any state-supported college or university in the United States, and the federal government will pay the overage for allowing you to go to in-state, and we'll pay the rest. Now, most state colleges cost less than, you get $10,000 a year. Most cost less than that. Every single ward has youngsters going to these colleges in 50 different states. I sometimes have problems. There were only 30 million in the House and the Senate bill. I was able to negotiate the full 40 million that Obama had given us in 2 prior Congresses. I want to give you an idea of the kind of laws they try to overturn that I have been able to block. Medical aid and dying law. This is a DC law. Yes, it is progressive. Not every state has it. But 2 members of the Republican leadership come from states that have it. So while my committee, one of my committees, passed a bill to overturn it, I was able to keep it from going to the full House by reminding them over and over again that they too have medical aid in time. I don't want to go through all of this, but essentially it's self-induced. You work with a physician, he has nothing to do with it, and we are far from first. That's an example. I won't go through the other bills that I've saved. I've told you the 2 I've not been able to save: medical marijuana and abortion funding by DC, understand, for poor women. Trump, what difference has he made? Well, a whole lot worse for the country than he's been for us, because I work with the Senate. We don't have any senators. That is why one of the most important things I do is to build momentum for DC statehood. We have a supermajority of Democrats only at this point for statehood, and most of the Democrats in the Senate are on Copper's bill, which is the sponsor of the Senate. But we essentially, because senators represent a broader swath of residents, I'm able to work much more with senators to get things done, even though we don't have any senators. So it's very important to have people over there who understand about the district and who also understand what why are we in, why am I wasting capital, my own political capital, on DC, whereas the House, ultra-conservative, they don't have anything but capital to raise.
I'm going to take you at your word and ask a question.
Thank you.
I know the president has been appointing judges in the District of Columbia without consulting you. And that's different from what happened during the Democratic administration. Is there anything that can be done to change that so that at least someone in the Congress is vetting these judicial appointments, because those are very important for the district and for the country as a whole?
Well, that's a very important question. I had what is called senatorial courtesy under Democratic presidents, which meant that I had a commission with members from every ward who interviewed people who wanted to be on our court here in the District of Columbia. I then interviewed them and suggested them, recommended a person from 3 they suggested to the president, and in every case the president appointed, just as he does for senators. So what do we do now? I don't have senatorial courtesy because there's no Democrat in the White House. So you don't just sit there. I should mention that I had the task force for the Congressional Black Caucus on judges. So I look at all the judges, including the district judges. They're very important to anything Democrats do. The president is here only for a while. His judges will last much longer, and what the judges do even longer. So I work on all judges. So what do I do? Well, I protested that, okay, at least under, I think, one of the Bushes, they had their nominee come and interview with me. So I told them that. You're not even doing that. It's not your court, it's our court here in the District of Columbia. The district court is the District of Columbia. So I was finally able to persuade them that whoever they nominated had to come meet with them. By the way, one of those that I got to nominate is the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. And I suppose the one I'm proudest of is Eric Holder, who was the first African American ever to be a U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia. By the way, that was long after we had become a largely African American city. We're no longer even that now. But look, he went on to become far more than that. attorney, they now send the U.S. attorney to talk to me, they send the judges to talk to me, but I don't get to say in advance who it is who will be appointed. So I keep pressing them. So far, I don't have much to, I mean, they haven't appointed any pariahs to our court. Oh, but they have to some of the district and courts of appeals. I have to say a thing about this corporate tax bill that was passed. Very much opposed it. So what do you do if they're passing a tax bill that you oppose? You get in it so that you can get some things for your folks. It's a terrible bill because most of the breaks go to large corporations. DC suffers in this bill because of the so-called SALT taxes taken away, state and local taxes, which you could, of course, deduct. You can't do that now, it's only up to $10,000. But for once having to send matters to the Congress benefited us, because the district has to send its fiscal year budget to the Congress. Now, I've been able to say, Congress doesn't even look at it. When I came here, it was just the opposite. Congress doesn't look at it. The only thing they use it for is to attach things to. So they don't go line by line. In fact, they don't know anything about it. But it's over here. So since it's over here and district has passed it, then the district had already done its property assessments. Unlike any jurisdiction in the United States, because it had to do it in its budget to be there by October the 1st. So it finishes its budget in the summer. So our folks were able to prepay their property taxes online and get the benefit of having had to submit the DC budget along with the property taxes to the Congress. And I was able to get some other things in this bill that'll benefit the district. Tim Scott is a good friend from South Carolina, obviously. I knew him well in the House, and he had a bill to promote investments in low-income districts. I said the District of Columbia isn't in it. Can I get in it? We're in it for parts of Ward 5, 7, and 8. There's another one that was dangerously we weren't in, again, because the district has left out of so much. I wanted the district to be treated with the same favorable tax rate as other utilities in the states, and I was able to get the district included in that, in this bill that I otherwise opposed. Private activity bonds, oh, this was so important. This is where you get a little bit of a tax break for affordable housing. Affordable housing has disappeared in the District of Columbia, so any tax break you can get for that anywhere you want. Just quickly, I'm leaving out so much because you really don't have time. I indicated I was the top Democrat on the Highways and Transportation Committee. We work wonderfully together. This is the most bipartisan committee. We pretentiously called ourselves the Big Four when we passed a transportation bill, the first in a decade. Very important bill for me because of WMATA. And you know that we finally have an agreement on WMATA for all 3 jurisdictions. This committee is very important to me, aviation. If any of you are having noise issues, you need to be in touch with me. I've been all over DC on that. I've described some of my economic development projects. The biggest economic development project in the United States is the Department of Homeland Security. That is the first time that the federal government has taken a federal agency to the other side of the Anacostia. Only it's not just taking one, it's going to be 5 federal agencies over there in the old St. Elizabeth campus. You know, that's the last place. That's really the last hurrah if you want to build a federal building. that is going to reconfigure, remake, and re-energize whole parts of Ward 8. Finally, let me say it with these children who are taking leadership on guns. We in the city have a special interest in what they're doing because of what I described at the beginning of my remarks, that they try to take away the district's gun laws. And so when this terrible tragedy happened in Parkland, Florida, it happened to be in Marco Rubio's district. Here is a man, and this is emblematic of how people with nothing else to do but seek personal gain for themselves. This is what Rubio has done for the last 3 Congresses, and we used what happened in Parkland against him. He hadn't much bothered with us. 3 Congresses ago, he put in a bill to wipe out all the district's gun laws. Well, I'm used to people doing that, so we battle them and we battle them back, and that's it. What is Marco Rubio in here for? Marco Rubio had a B+, B as in boy, plus rating from the NRA. I am not exaggerating when I say within a few minutes after introducing a bill to wipe out all the district's gun laws, the NRA raised his rating from a B+ to an A, the National Rifle Association. Feel used you were. Now Parkland comes along. And we have been after him, and we've got the Miami Herald after him, and we've got his television stations after him, and we've got his radio stations after him. Just explain yourself. They don't have much. And this is how he said it. Well, you know, all I want is to make sure that the district abides by federal laws, and that's it. Well, there's no jurisdiction in the United States that has only federal laws. The federal government leaves it mostly to local jurisdictions. If you had only a federal law, for example, a 10-year-old could buy an assault because the federal law doesn't cover that. They leave it to the common sense of local jurisdictions. So there's a whole ream and thing about my going after him and making him work for it. You want to wipe out DC laws? Okay, you're going to have to work for it every other day because we're coming after you. You cannot say, well, I don't have a vote in the Senate or the House. You have a voting committee. And I should say to you who are district residents, this may sound anomalous, but as between the vote on the House floor, which is an insult to everybody in this room that you don't have, and a voting committee, the voting committee is more important to you for what I can do for you. By the time it goes to the House floor, it's all over. And many things I can do in committee and at the committee level, even working with Republicans, can't work with them on the House floor. The bill is in, the bill is done. The reason it's an insult to you, if you don't remember anything else I say, I want to close with this one thing. Some of this has been about legislation I've passed and working on. But I bet you won't forget this. I am looking at the American people who are #1 in taxes paid to support the government of the United States. I'm looking at you. Not number 3 or 6. You're not the biggest jurisdiction that pays taxes, but you're the only ones that pay taxes without representation. That's what fuels me. Thank you so much for letting me come.
Nothing's going to top that, I think. We really thank you, Congresswoman, for all you've done for the district. Thank you very much. Okay, then next item on the agenda, the last item, substantive item on the agenda is DC Water and DDOT on the continuing work on Oregon Avenue. And Abe and Shannon, you want to take that over?
Hi everyone, we're just going to take a little time to provide an update or give DC Water and the Department of Transportation a chance to provide an update on two different projects, both of which affect Oregon Avenue and the surrounding neighborhood. So for the last 14 months, much of Oregon Avenue has been closed for a DC Water project to replace a large amount of pipe underground on Oregon as well as on Bingham Drive. And this has been for about the last 14 months. The folks at DC Water have been incredibly helpful in terms of giving, updates about the progress of the project. They even went so far as to give a tour of the project site itself. This is a very complex project, which I'm sure they can talk about more if you have questions about. But they're essentially here tonight to provide an update about the project and what to expect its completion and what's been happening so far. At the same time, there's been plans for a long time for reconstruction of Oregon Avenue from Military Road all the way to Western Avenue. And that's been discussed for actually many years. And so there are these two projects that are, one is in the planning stage and one is in the construction stage. So we're here to just hear a little bit more about those and what to expect in the neighborhood. So I think, I was hoping that DC Water would be able to go first. And so if anyone's here for the DC Water project, can you just come to the stand and just identify yourself, just introduce yourself? I know there's a number of folks here, but thank you everyone. And are you Miss Hayes?
Haynes.
Miss Haynes. Yes. Miss Haynes. Got it. Tijuana Haynes?
Yes.
All right. Hi. Okay. Nice to see you again.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone. And commissioners, we want to just say thank you for having us tonight. Again, my name is Tijuana Haynes, and I'm filling in for Tanya Hedgepeth, who is out ill tonight, and she sends her sincerest apologies. Before we begin, I just want to introduce the team. Members from DC Water's work on the Oregon Avenue project. We have the DC Water Program Manager, Willis Thomas. From the construction management team, we have Robert Looney. From the contractor, Bradshaw Construction, we have Ryan Perdue. And of course, DDOT, we have Ryan Wilson. And a little background on the project, in case for those who aren't familiar with it. The project involves the construction of approximately 2,100 feet of new trunk sewer along Oregon Avenue, which will redirect the flows to Bingham Drive. The construction of approximately 2,300 feet of new trunk sewer along Bingham Drive northwest to the bay, the flows from Oregon Avenue to the Rock Creek main interceptor, abandoning 3 existing sanitary sewers which flows eastward to Rock Creek Park, and the construction of new sewer manholes along Oregon Avenue Northwest and Bingham Drive. And since December of 2016, when we started construction, there's been a lot accomplished with this project. And to update you on this project, we have Robert Looney.
How's everybody see? Great. The project we look at DC Water as a gold star project. It's been moving very, very, very smoothly without a lot of incidents whatsoever on the construction side. So with that said, we started the project back September 30th, 2016 with a notice to proceed. We established the southbound work zone around Nebraska and Oregon Ave on January 2017, closing the roads and putting up the directional signs. We launched a shaft, which was a manhole 12 shaft, which is a shaft that we use to launch a boring machine. We tunneled 90% of this work. Some of it is open cut, but 90% of it is all bored through a tunnel machine, a launching shaft. The receiving shaft is down on the end of Oregon Ave. It's shaft 16. That's where the tunnel ended. And then we go into open cut and install some carrier piping through that part of Oregon. We also did a lot of open cut and tunneling down Ingham Drive, which now is, I'd say about 90% complete. We're finished with the tunneling and excavation work on Bingham, and we're starting to clean that up, and we're going to start repaving that here in the very near future. We had crossed the beach back in January because over there we have a shaft, which is one of our tie-in shafts with the shaft manhole number 1, which is on the other side of beach off of Bingham. So back in January we were able to cross that very, very easily. We didn't even work on the weekend. We kept it open on the weekend for the community, but we're working 12-hour shifts to get that done, and we did work a little bit on Saturday, I believe, inside our LODs and not by closing the drive. The open cut section along Bingham, like I said, is complete. We completed that back in February, and we did several tunnels there, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 4, 5, and 6 we combined into a curved tunnel. Originally it was a straight tunnel. It was now a curved tunnel, the first curved micro tunnel in the United States. So that's, kudos for Bradshaw and Company to do that type of construction. We hope to see that a lot more in the future. To do this tunnel construction really eliminates a lot of I wouldn't say issues from the community to have to handle. Because if we did open cut, we're talking about cutting 60, 70 feet trenches that are very, very deep and hard to work with. So the site restoration and, actually the final tie-in we're expecting to do in September of 2018, and the final restoration of paving the roads we anticipate to be in November of 2018. And then we would turn that Oregon Avenue to DDOT, and then they would do their construction and repaving that road. I don't speak for DDOT, so they're here tonight to give you more information on that. Yes?
I'm just curious, can you explain how the Oregon Avenue project relates to the DC Water project and catching incoming service water? Cleaning up that posture. Is there a real relationship?
There is a relationship because all that water actually, we have outfalls that occur. So it's a combined sewer system, even all the way up into the community that we're talking about here, all the way down to the plains and through the district. It's a combined sewer system. So as long as we're just doing sewage and there's no rainstorms, excellent system. Once we get the rainstorms, our plants can't quite handle it. So for the Green Rivers, we've tunneled underneath the river now. We have reservoirs to capture all of this outfall. So the goal here is to not have any outfalls by 2020. Don't know if we'll make 2020, but maybe somewhere around 2021, as I see the Clean Rivers work is doing. So by capturing all this and keeping it inside the carrier pipe, and brings it down to the processing plant. So
that's why you're replacing the sewer pipes.
that's correct. That's part of the reason, and part of the reason is the sewer pipes that are actually installed now were built back in 1914 and 1924. So they've started to deteriorate somewhat. So the goal in this is to bring it up to industry standards. You're welcome.
You're anticipating that the project will be complete this November?
That's correct.
Okay. And just to be clear, on here it says phase 2 would extend to April 2019. Is that no longer the case?
Phase 2? No, not for what are you seeing this?
This is on the back.
Even on the front and schedule section?
So originally that was the plan.
Right.
To go through April 2019. Right. However, we're happy to report that we are on schedule. I mean, we're actually ahead of schedule. There's a couple of reasons for that. One is the value engineering proposal that we got from Bradshaw for the curb tunnel. That allowed us, it saved time. It saved us a little bit of money too. The key thing is that it saved us time, especially since we hit rock in a few places up there as we were doing our work, proceeding with that. So that got us the time back that we potentially could have lost. The other thing is, contractor's done an excellent job of staying on top of it, really working hard 6 days a week to try to get in and get out, as we promised you guys in the beginning. So I don't want to put them too much on the spot, but I actually am pushing, and I think they can get it. We actually think we can get to 30 days even ahead of that. So I'm putting myself and them on the line with that, so we're really going to try to do that. The other thing we're going to do, we'll invite the ANCs to the preliminary walkthrough for the punch list, and we'll invite you to the final. We partner with you guys. Let me tell you, you guys have been a really good, patient ANC and community and working with us to rehabilitate this sewer. And I can't tell you how much I really appreciate that, because I know it's been a big inconvenience to you guys. We understand that. We're doing our very best as we promised to get in and get out of there. So that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you very much. I mean, really, we appreciate the updates and just the fact that it seems that things are moving a little bit quickly, or more quickly than we thought is great news. So thank you.
Yes, and I also want to thank you for your responsiveness, because when we have called about various issues over the course of the project, you all have been very responsive, and even when we requested, even in the initial beginning, the signage, you brought your team out there, and everyone worked very closely with us to ensure that the community signage was better for various communities such as Norwood. So I want to commend you on that, and thank you for being responsive. And I know you don't end until 28th September, so I hope that we can continue that relationship, that you return our calls and emails immediately, because you have been great at that.
Absolutely. Those guys will tell you that I'm very hard on them. Maybe sometimes a little too hard, but they're tough and they can take it. But they do a really good job of trying to get back to the community, any questions you may have. And they keep me pretty much informed. I'm not out there every day. I have other projects that I manage, but they do an excellent job of keeping me up to date. And I stay interfaced as well. Tanya does an excellent job with you guys, keeping you guys abreast of everything that's going on, or any potential changes or conflicts. And we do try to resolve issues as soon as we can, as soon as we know about them. And the contract has been great about jumping all those. We appreciate it. Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Donna has one question.
Just one.
Yes.
We seem to continually have potholes developing from the exit of Norwood down to, particularly to, I was wondering if water and the transportation people could coordinate better in getting those repaired, because there's a narrow lane. The buses go, the trucks leave there, and we're continually having problems with that part of the road.
We will definitely look into that first thing in the morning. Tijuana, you can take it, and we'll get back to you on that. We'll work with got here, see what we can do on that. Sorry about that. It happens. But we'll address it.
I'm sorry, can you speak up? I'm sorry. I say, in order to accommodate the overflow of water and storms, how is your construction making it better? Are you putting in bigger pipes?
Yes, I forgot to mention that. Sorry. Still this time. He's the smart, they're the smart guys. No. We actually increased the pipe size to 24 inch, which is going to give us more capacity. I believe it was a 20 inch. Correct. It was a 20 inch originally, so we're increasing that to 24, 15 actually, that's right. Increasing that to 24 inches, which is majorly going to increase the capacity. The other important thing about this project, as you guys may remember, is that the original sewer is on Park Service property, so it takes us a mountain and a molehill to do any work in getting permits and everything on Park Service property. So now with us moving the sewer on our property, we can maintain it a lot better, so it's not 100+ years before we're able to do something about it. But we were proactive in this one. Thankfully, we didn't have any issues. This is one of the projects that I'm really proud about, because we were very proactive and hopefully mitigating any major issues.
Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you.
So next we'll have Wayne Wilson from DDOT with an update on Oregon Avenue. Thank you for coming.
No problem. Good evening. Project manager for the Oregon Avenue reconstruction project. which is a reconstruction of roadway, lighting, infrastructure, sidewalk installation on the residential side, Pinehurst culvert, and a lot of these installations. We have some permanent surfaces next to trees, especially the Japanese maple, the chestnut. So currently we are looking at advertising for construction bids. July, we're obligated federal funds for the project, which means everything is in place for the project. We are going through right-of-way transfers and settlements and doing that. So we're going to the feds and we're ready to go. We've been coordinating with DC Water. So since their restoration is November, we're looking at award of our contract in December. So we're looking at NTP February. So that will fall perfectly with the DC Water project. We've been having monthly meetings with DC Water. We've been watching the traffic, and we've been looking at other projects along the corridor. Since the East Drive project from NPS, Chestnut up and coming. So we've just been coordinating and just getting ready to start. And we're also securing easements, construction easements with NPS. Since we'll be doing Pinehurst culvert, we'll be at their property doing some restoration for the bridge. Also included schedules and just phasing that we've been over in some of the Oregon meetings where we'll be starting, the limits of those phasings, as well as a schedule and backup, just overlapping with the other projects and how they fall out in the next couple of years. Yes?
We've heard so many versions of how we're going to get in and out of Moldwood or everything we block off. We have the one exit, but we're not allowed to turn left onto Tennyson there. So bring us up to speed on that.
So yes, we had a lot of discussions. We actually came to Norwood, and we are part of our construction, maintenance of traffic. We're going to remove that triangle, the small triangle, so you will be able to make left turns. So that will be in phase, I believe it's in phase 2. So we're going to utilize DC Water's maintenance and traffic plan, but once DDOT starts, that's part of our maintenance and traffic, that we're going to move that triangle so you can make that left turn, because we heard it was a problem for the traffic.
So that's for February 2019? It says notice to proceed?
Yes, so the contractor will start mobilizing, bringing equipment, bringing materials, and setting up traffic control. So part of that for Norwood and maintaining access for emergency vehicles, the bus, and all that is removing the triangle section on Tennyson Street so that they can make left turns. Yes. Notice to proceed. So for us to start, the contractor actually had to go ahead.
Of the $21 million for design and construction, how much of that is federal funds?
83%.
83%?
Well, we actually have DC plug, which is the undergrounding of the primary lines, so that in response to the storms, that they can restore power to neighborhoods. So it's about $2 to $3 million. We also have a water line upgrade with DC Water. We're upgrading the water line all along Oregon Avenue. That's another $2 or $3 million. So out of that 14, 15 million, 80% of that is the federal part, and then we have 20%, roughly 20%.
And you don't see any problem in being able to secure that fund?
Yeah. We've been talking about this for many years.
Right, but I see words you use on our beginning obligation of all federal funds.
Well, for us, that's a huge step, because we have a number of projects going out through DC. We're not allowed to, pretty much secure that funding or put that money in place until everything is ready to start.
Could you please speak up? I'm sorry.
Can you speak up or come to the microphone?
Come on.
if you remove the triangle on Tennyson, coming out of the will be put in place to avoid accidents as you're on 29th Street coming in to Tennyson there. Traffic coming in.
When we look at it, we can see a lot of traffic coming from 29th Street that comes down to Tennessee. Right. So during the Tennessee main traffic trying to call, I think we restricted some parking and we looked at the turning movements, but we utilize flaggers and signs, and we are going to make sure that the safety parts of how many traffic.
You could just, I know that has been a source of concern for the people who live on Tennyson Street, because it's obviously going to divert a lot of traffic that had been going down Oregon Avenue onto Tennyson Street. We need to have a meeting, I think, with the community on Tennyson Street to alert them to what's going to happen, talk about ways that we can mitigate the problem. I know I've been out there with those people. Shannon was not available with them, and I know they're concerned about it. And that triangle was put in there at their insistence, and so it's the people on Tennyson Street that we're going to have to worry about. I mean, we obviously have to make it easy for people at Knollwood to get in and out, and for services to come in, and to the bus to come in.
Yes.
All of those things are essential. Ambulances, all of those things are essential. So, but we need to work with the community, the residents on Tennyson Street, very, very closely with that process.
Because just to give an example, on the DC Water project, both Knollwood, the Knollwood community and Tennyson Street were very vocal as far as the signage and the traffic and the issues that they were facing. So we definitely, I think a great example also was the fact that Randy and I were able to meet with the project managers, actually people on the ground, and kind of walk through the signage and where things were going to go. So we would like to do that with you as well.
I'll support that. We can set that up. We can send me an email, start next month, or walk out.
And if I'm looking at this schedule correctly, we're talking about basically for that portion, that divert the traffic on Tennyson Street beginning in fourth quarter of 2019, is that right? That's phase 2. Or no, it would be maybe phase 3. That's phase 3, I guess, right past Beach Street. No,
that would be
Military Road Rittenhouse.
That'd be phase 2.
Phase 2?
Yeah, that'd be phase 2. That'd be last quarter.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of time to work on that, but if that's going to be...
I'd like to get out ahead of it. We can start early than that.
Yeah. Okay. And during phase 1 then, mobile can have access directly onto Oregon Avenue and all that time, which is not going to be closed at all for Knollwood residents. Is that right? From Beach Street down, it's not going to be closed on Oregon Avenue, right?
No, we're looking to start just utilizing the beach to Western Avenue, right? And
the only thing is closed.
No, once there's some closures, coordination with DC Water, but we'll still maintain access and give, we come out early and say that we're looking at St. John's when the school is out, maybe timing to the Britain part. Look, maybe it's better to start that section early, but we far in advance and coordinate what our intentions are.
I mean, if I could just flag one thing for you, there's a number of potholes on Beach, and also a pretty noticeable crack running through the middle of the road where the two pieces were kind of joined together, and just anticipating the detour and additional traffic. And I think it would behoove DDOT to potentially repave some parts of it, or at least fill some of those potholes. I know some have already been filled, but there are some kind of closer to Oregon still. If there's more traffic, it's just going to get worse.
Yeah, we have been looking at, we paved Oregon. I know he's part of Tennyson, and we're looking at Chestnut and Beach as well as back. So we've been inspecting that through all the heavy truck traffic or additional traffic that the side streets will get hammered. And, but we have asset management that does paving, and they've been kind of working with us and trying to stay up on the side streets.
Thank you.
What's LID stand for?
LID stands for low impact design. So that's the fire retentions, the green space, fire swales, and vegetated swales to catch water.
There's going to be a public meeting though on May 17th.
No, that was the last public meeting.
Last year.
Oh, that was last year. Okay. No other meeting until you start work.
Well,
we have another meeting prior to construction.
Yes.
I mean, we have to coordinate like tenants in, maybe Norwood. I'm pretty sure maybe some other street beach. We may need to talk about Chestnut. I mean, it'd be good to have like that engagement before we start construction, to what the expectations, what happened during DC Water's construction, what things would be better, and just be open with everybody.
and then also, I think it would be good to have come back to a public meeting prior to construction to talk about your concrete plans, because at that point you will have had your company that you're working with, the bids. Yeah. That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. We're going to be seeing a lot of you, Wayne. You're not getting away that easy. Okay, now turning to commission business. The minutes of our March 12th meeting were published on our website and on the Chevy Chase Community Center and on next door. Any modifications or changes to those minutes? All those in favor? 7-0. Okay, checks.
Okay, let's see. For this meeting, we have two checks, one for $250.18, which represented the Verizon bill for 2 months, and another check to DOES, Department of Employment Services, $42.39.
And all those in favor of approving those checks? 7-0. Okay, we have a very, very busy schedule for our April 23rd meeting, and it includes a lot of these things we've talked about before. And for instance, we discussed 7076 Oregon Avenue, but we're hoping to get that taken care of then. We'll have, I think we're probably going to end up having the presentations on Initiative 77 moved. No, that's going to be moved to May 14th because we just can't fit them all in here. So that's going to be May 14th. Then we're going to have to consider the opera license application for the Little East and the Magruder's renewal of its liquor license. That should be fairly straightforward, I think. And then finally, another item, public space committee issue that we've considered before, and they're coming back now, hopefully with a better answer, at 3723 and a half Harrison Street. Chris's S&D. And then finally, Chris is going to arrange for a presentation from Kim Ford, who's the Democratic candidate for delegate. We've had presentations from Congresswoman Norton, and this is her opponent in the Democratic primary election, so we're going to give her time as well. So we'll put that on April 23rd. I think we're going to be able to fit all of those things in, but it's going to be tight. And then we're probably going to have a very busy meeting on May 14th as well. It's the only meeting we have in May, and so I suspect there's going to be a lot of work done. Okay, well, thank you all for staying to the bitter end. We appreciate it. Thank you.
but it's,